Okay, I'm full. I had these good brisket. I had really good waffle fries. Take waffle fries. I didn't order them. I was going to take some of hers. I cannot recommend to take some of them. Okay? And if you want to take some, you can come over and get slip over and sit at my table. But since I'm full, I'm not complaining. And I'm taking a second. Oh, I just got it for booze to begin with. It seemed like I was doing something else. But all been waiting all day long to come to half-liter barbecue for this story slam.
Yeah.
Just to greet you
That's right.
and have me some cheese. Because I'm not cooking till Sunday. That's my brother, so that I don't know why I told that back. I'm just gonna clean the grill. All right, welcome. I'm glad you came out. A lot of our people, I guess, went to the mall. And had we known, we might have changed our date. I don't know. But Ronan is down there representing Storytelling Arts. And I'm here, Celestine Bloomfield, your MC for tonight. And I'd like to thank Samantha for doing everything. And Shannon for setting us up. And I have this lime green basket over here next to me. And if you want to tell a story, Samantha will give you a blank form and you can tell anything you want about the topic tonight called board games. It's not B-O-R-E-D, although you can interpret it that way. It's board games. And I got some things to say about board games before the evening is over. But first of all, I want to welcome you to the Indy Story Slam presented by Freetown Village and Storytelling Arts of Indiana.
Yeah.
And sponsored by Maestro Organizing. And our media sponsor, WFYI.
Hey.
Now, I want you to remember this story can be 5 minutes or less. I don't care if you talk for 10 minutes. We're only going to score you on 5. Okay? And our timekeeper, Stan, is over there. He's going to wave and let you know when you're talking too long. You keep talking. Like I said, we are not pulling you off the stage. There is no magic golden hook. We will let you talk, but our judges, and thank you judges for coming tonight, and our scorekeeper, are only going to score about 5 minutes. So I hope you practice. In the meanwhile, your story should be told in first person. It should be a true story, no longer than 5 minutes in length, and based on the theme of board stories. You cannot read your story. You cannot refer to notes. But I like to tell folks, how do I know if you're telling the truth? If I don't see your nose growing, I will not know. So you come up here and tell me whatever you want to tell me. Now, before we start, I want you to plan for June. June, the theme is bucket list, and we will be at Aristocrat Pub and Restaurant at 52nd and North College. We'll be in the Oxford room at that place. I think you need to carpool, but you know parking is a problem. Our theme is bucket list. You might want to know the upcoming event for Storytelling Arts of Indiana on Sunday, July 13th, from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Once upon a time, storytelling circle. Join us to practice telling folk, fairy, and mythic tales. It's in the informal atmosphere, a supportive atmosphere. Think of us as being your family. Storytellers of all skill levels are welcome, and listeners too. I might be available June 13th. I might have to show up and party with me. The group meets the second Sunday of every month, 2:30 p.m. at Hamilton East Public Library, the Fisher's Green. And professional storytellers Deb Valerie and Liza Hyatt will be the hosts. I'm gonna give you more commercials right after we start listening to our storytellers. Board games. Who was having this conversation? I don't remember having board games in our house growing up. We played cards, and sometimes for money. So when the big blizzard came, people were trying to figure out what to do to not go insane. Because there were four of us, my mother and my three brothers. We would play Bid Whist. And so I carried that game on through college. We would have tournaments, and a lot of people from Chicago were at my school, and so we had bragging rights. So board games, I remember playing them. We had checkers, Chinese checkers, Monopoly. There was always a child who was losing, and instead of them losing gracefully, they would upend the board and leave the room. So I hope nobody does that here tonight. So I'm going to reach into this land green basket. I'm going to need some more names, so y'all, you know how this works. Once you hear one teller tell a story, what happens? It reminds you of something that happened to you. And you come right on up and get a form and fill it out. We'll put it in the library basket, and you too can tell a story. But right now, our first teller is Stanley. Hey, Stanley. That was just magic. And doing his duties while he's telling stories, he's got a friend. Come on over here.
Good evening, everyone. And since I'm the timekeeper, hopefully I'm a good example. So my name is Stanley Dumernay. I was born here in the United States, but my family is from Haiti, so that's the French name. And growing up in Haiti, we did play some board games, but we often used our imagination. I grew up with my grandparents. I'm the oldest of three kids. I have two younger sisters and two older cousins. And one of the games we played was an idea that my older cousin came up with. He titled the game, Who Stole Grandma's Keys? So my grandmother was always losing her keys. And naturally, she would blame one of us kids for taking her keys. And so after dinner each night, while all the kids, five of us, sat around the table, Joseph, the oldest, would shout, whoever gets to the top of the stairs last is the thief that stole Grandma's keys. And so this was the ritual every night. And so the stairs were across the room from the dining table. And for some reason, I don't really remember how I ended up at the foot of the table, so farthest away from the stairs. But being imaginative, I devised a way to find a shortcut to the top of the stairs. And so whenever Joseph would shout, whoever gets to the top of the stairs last is the thief that stole Grandma's keys, I would get on my chair and then jump up over the railing, swing myself over, and I always found a way to not be, quote unquote, the thief. And so my youngest sister, Alex, 6 years younger than me and half my size, unfortunately, was always the one to make it last. And Joseph, being the game maker and wanting to restore justice to the universe, devised a plan to set things straight by setting me up. And so he told everyone about the plan except me. So that particular night, we're sitting around the table and something was off. My cousins and sisters were unusually quiet. And Joseph had a grin in his eyes, but I was confident of my strategy because it had worked like a charm for so many times. And so at the given moment, we're done eating. Joseph shouts, whoever gets to the top of the stairs last is the thief that stole Grandma's keys. And so I get on my chair and then I jump, and except that I don't go anywhere. I get pulled back. And so I was confused. So I jumped again and I got pulled back. I jumped again and I got pulled back. And I was confused, not knowing what was going on. And all the while, my sisters and my cousins are making their way to the stairs. They get to the top of the stairs and they're laughing hysterically. And then when I look down, you see Joseph during dinner had slipped under the table, unbeknownst to me, and tied my leg with a rope to the chair. And so every time I jumped up, the rope pulled me down. And so looking up and seeing all of my siblings, especially my sister Alex, laughing hysterically, I burst into tears. And so we didn't play a lot of Monopoly, we didn't play a lot of Clues, but we didn't need that with a cousin like Joseph, who made sure that every night was full of drama, betrayal, and tragedy. And so that's how I grew up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's hilarious. What is Joseph doing now? He's still taking the legs. I gotta talk. We gotta talk. That was hilarious. Listen, I know that made you think about another story about board games. I have a story I want to tell you about board games, but I'm going to wait until later. I need to get permission. Oh, from the owner of the game. Well, okay, hand me that game that's sitting right there underneath my purse. I hope y'all recording this so I can show her this later. This game is called Slang a Lang. And a classmate of mine from college, her cousin, created this game. And so she's been looking for people to try it out. So I belong to a group called the Silvers. And they're all little old ladies, and I'm the youngest, to let you know how old we are, okay? And so she wanted to have pictures of us playing the game. And so we played it for the first time at the end of April. Slang-a-lang has boards like Keno or Bingo, and at the top of each column is the word black. And there's a clue that she has to read. You need to look and see. Maybe it's Martin Luther King, Martin Luther King. You have to look down and see if you have that on the board. And if you get markers, you play it just like you were playing bingo. You can get 4 corners. You can get bingo, slango, diagonal. We can play long enough for cover all. And the thing about the game is it took us a long time to play it because every time a slang came up, it made us laugh or made us think of something that had happened to us in our childhood. And it made us sing. So it's a good game to play, and it's called Slang. And she lives in Kansas City, Missouri. And I bought this game to play with my club members. Now, we're of the age where we have to travel in pairs so that we can get from point A to point B. So that if you're sitting in the passenger seat, you can't nod off. You can't read a book. You need to make sure we're going down the right street. And they have been known to get lost in their own neighborhood, okay? So we have a great time playing this game, and she has several editions of it. So I'm hoping that she'll come to town when Comic-Con is in town and maybe try and hawk her products. And I know she's updated, but I think her cousin is like 92 years old. So, you know, the slang goes back that far. And as the night goes on, I'm going to share some of the slang terms with you and see if you catch up, okay? But slang-a-lang, doesn't that sound good? Slang-a-lang. I'll play slang-a-lang. But right now, I'm going to reach into this lime green basket. I'm going to mix the names up. And I'm going to pull the name. Well, that's random pull. And our next color is Chef Black.
So about 8 or 10 years after I moved out on my own, my mom formed a kind of extreme like, talk radio and cable news habit where I would go home and she would have the TV on in the living room all the time on the news program. And she had a bunch of little portable radios placed throughout the house, tuned into talk radio shows. So like anywhere you were in the house, you could have some little electronic box yelling at you. And if you were in the right place, like right between the living room and the kitchen, you could be smack in the middle of like two boxes yelling at you about different things. And over the course of a day, the different programs would kind of agree on the things they were yelling about, but it was never at just the same time. So you'd be getting snatches of this and snatches of that. And that just took up all of the space in the house that you'd expect to use for things like conversation between people who lived there. And I tried a couple of times early on, I'd say, hey, I come to visit you guys. I drive 6 hours to get here. Is it possible we could use some of this time, turn that stuff off? I don't know, do things families do. And, my mom was reluctant to take the chance that something could happen in the world that would need to be yelled about, and she might not know about it until the next day. And I finally, after a while, I just kind of gave up, and I understood that this was what my visits home were like. I'm around the house for a few days, and there are these boxes yelling, and then we say, hey, we should do this again sometime, and I drive 6 hours and I'm home. It's like these patterns. You grow up as somebody's kid, and it just feels like there are these patterns you can't break. I don't care if you're in your 30s, you've been away from home for a decade. This one I didn't even grow up with. It started after I moved out, but it felt like there was just nothing I could do about it. For my sisters, on the other hand, they did not grow up with my mom. They grew up with their mom. And I'm sure they had all the same complicated patterns with their mom, but not with my mom. It didn't hurt that my eldest sister, for whatever weird genetic reason, is the one out of all us kids who got the most of dad's build and dad's like booming voice. And when she has something she'd like you to hear, you're probably going to hear it. And there was one time when she and I both visited at the same time. I drove up from here. She flew in from California. So it's the two of us and mom and dad. And the dinner plates got cleared away that night. And my sister stood in the middle of the room and said, all right, I have brought Scrabble. We are going to turn off the TV and all the radios and sit at this table, and we are playing Scrabble. And what do you know? TV got turned off. Radios all got turned off, and we sat down at that table and Scrabble was played, and it was fabulous. And it didn't break the whole pattern right away, and it was always hard for me still after that, but my sister has been one of my heroes ever since that night.
What's your sister's name, Ted?
Kim.
Kim? All right, Kim. As the elders, that's how you have to handle stuff, okay? Very good. I want you to mark this date on your calendar. For Freetown Village, the 4th annual Juneteenth Foodways Festival is Thursday, June 12th, from 4:30 to 8:30 at Benjamin Harrison Presidential Suite. Does that mean the Benjamin Harrison House? Okay. Just checking. I never heard it called a suite, but that's not a word. Suite. It says site. Yeah, close. Not the park. It's that actual house. Is that Delaware, Pennsylvania? Delaware. Okay. I've only been there a couple times. No.
Oh,
Harrison
William
House.
Henry Harrison.
Yes.
Vice President Harrison.
At any rate, they want you to come see, taste, celebrate, and experience for yourself how Black cuisine adds flavor to America's favorite foods. Join us for the fourth annual Juneteenth Foodways Festival that was inspired by an exceptional event. After the 23rd President of the United States took office in 1889, he made some important changes. He modernized the White House with the installation of electricity. He hired the first woman onto his professional administrative staff, and he fired the French chef working in the White House and invited renowned Black caterer and chef Dolly Johnson to bring all-American cuisine to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Dolly Johnson brought to life through reenactment in partnership with Freetown Village. That's June 12th. This Juneteenth Foodways Festival is made possible through the generosity of Eli Lilly and Company Foundation and features an interactive food experience highlighting the hidden history of diverse Hoosiers from the 1860s through the 1890s from the perspective of African Americans. It shares Black foodways contributions to American culture with a focus on Dolly Johnson, the White House chef hired by President Harrison. Well, that's important, you know that? Listen, I know his story made you think of another story. Do you have an overbearing, loud elder sister? As my brothers would say. Think about it. There's still time for you to tell the story. But I'm going to reach into this lime green basket and I'm pulling out a name. Da-da-da-da-da. Dorothy Ellen. Come on down. Now I know she's gonna make you think of a story that you have in your heart, lost in your memory cells that you might want to tell. So listen up.
Hello, everyone. Hope you have a good evening. We got this weekend coming up, right? Anyhow, I'm kind of new to this all. You know, I got a big mouth. I want to get paid for it one day. My memoir, Homegrown Hillbilly, half of a McCoy lineage from the hills of Pennsylvania. It's quite a doozy good story. As I might add, Vice President J.D. Vance beat me out of the horse gate, but I'm coming up the rear. Or whatever end of the spectrum you're on of that political nature, I think you'll like the book. Anyhow, speaking of that, I grew up in the hills of southwestern Pennsylvania, one of the most economically oppressed areas to this day in our beloved USA. And of course, even though we had some trials and tribulations to go through, we did play a few games. One was Monopoly. So that's a pretty big name, brand, and it's changed over the years. However, we were the old school ones. I was a little bit of a tomboy, and I was a bit of an impulsive one. Imagine me. And I had a astute business sense, even though I didn't know what I was doing. So I got two stories to tell. Let's see. Okay, one story is my brother, my beloved, sadistic brother named Joshua Levi. So we played, I know it was him, and probably my brother, the evangelist Rodney, Gerald. And Joshua Levi, boy, more impulsive than me. You can imagine that. By the way, I was born the last of 7 kids, as my sister said. My mom had 6 kids, my dad had 6 kids, and together that equals 7, which I'm the youngest. In addition to, I say 1/2 plus 1/2 equals a whole. So always make sure you treat your half of kids better than the whole, because they deserve it more. They need more loving than most of us. So that's just a little add. Anyhow, so we played Monopoly, and I was, I remember him always saying, "Come on, baby, you need some underwear." And that son of a sucker, he cheated a lot. Oh my goodness, that young boy, I don't know, he always somehow managed to try to get past me, but he wouldn't get too far from me. Cause I was a little keen with my eyes. Anyhow, that was a fun time. It was probably one of the funnest times we had, because it was pretty mean. The time, but you know, when you grow up in a tough little family, I called it extraordinary life we grew. My daddy was a World War II veteran, and we bore the brunt of it daily. And so the second game time was, I used to go over to my neighbor's house across the creek. And one time we played Monopoly with my friend's dad and mom and sister. And we were going at it. I had to have them before they got to the B&O Railroad or whatever the heck. Oh, you want me? I mean, I did it so many times. The that man put his foot down. He said, if you do that one more time, I'm gonna quit. I mean, his family looked at him like, come on now, it's just a game. And by darn, I did it again and he quit. And that's my story, don't stick it to it.
Thank you very much. So where are the evangelists right now?
Oh, he's doing those kind of things.
All right,
Definitely.
all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we sure do. Been training you haven't.
That hit so many ways. I hope you heard that. You said Pennsylvania Avenue, we did. All right. If you think of a story you want to tell, now we still got time. I'm stalling so that they have time to score you. I'm going to shake up the names in this basket. If you think about a story you want to tell, something comes to mind. Samantha's got a blank form. She'll give you a pen and let you fill it out. And you can tell one too. But right now, Peg Black is going to tell us a story. Come on, Peg. Hey, come on down.
I filled it out, but I was thinking of something else.
Well, just come
I
and
was
tell us.
supposed to. However,
Perfect. Peg's good at it.
we'll
She's good.
we'll see. I'm coming around this way. You know, it was fun. Something like that, but- Coming around that.
Keep on coming.
Well, I'll try. Okay. I don't know, we played a lot of different board games. But the one that sticks in my head right now, you remember an old game called Cooties? Cooties, honestly. What would name a game Cooties? Well, they did. So all us kids played this game, and the object was supposed to put the bug together. Always ended up with, I know not one bug, but about half of one, half of another one. And not one equals a whole. No, it was always four legs over here, and two antennae over here, and one eye down there. I thought Cooties was a game you couldn't win. So I never could anyway. So one day I finally got in the right place. My sister was across the table from me, and not on the same side, because I think she slipped things in there. I really didn't think she did things to mess me up. But anyway, she was on the other side of the table. So I could get whatever pieces I wanted. And I had a whole bunch. Oh, and I was getting ready to call Cootie. And I looked down, and one of the legs was missing. And here was my sister sitting across the table with one extra leg. I said, well, Cootie to you. And that was the end of that.
You know, in a school, you always have lots of games. So in case you can reward your class, even at recess, there were games to play. We used to keep games in the library media center. And the worst thing was to go set the game up and look and see something was missing. So you couldn't play the game. But, I remember cooties. Usually the kids said somebody had them. Yeah, the boys always had cooties, okay. But I'm gonna reach in this blind green basket. Now, as your memory cells its job, we're ready to hear you tell a story. There's always time to tell a tale. But right now, I pulled out a slip. Oh, Samantha Powell, stand.
All right, I wasn't gonna tell one tonight, but so for those that don't know, I was a teacher for 10 years before I started working for Storytelling Arts. And however, I've only been a mother for about 4. And sometimes the line between my teacher self and my mom self is a little vague. On the one hand, I want her to be, set up for success. I want her to be prepared for school. I want the best for her future. And on the other hand, I want her to be youthful and enjoy these days where she's simply a kid and can be carefree. So I started doing these activities with my daughter every day that I loved doing. I would set them up at night while my husband was doing bedtime. And then in the morning, she would, rush on down, as in her words, as early as possible, because she couldn't wait to do these learning activities. And after a while, they started kind of to drag on a little bit. And I still had fun preparing them. I called it my prep work, like I was back in the teaching zone. But she just wasn't as enthusiastic. And so part of me was like, maybe I shouldn't, because that, I shouldn't push it because I don't want to burn her out before kindergarten. That's ridiculous. And on the other hand, I was like, no, she just needs some motivation. And so I decided to introduce family game night. For those that don't know, by Friday, there's a reason why parents order pizza, because you are just exhausted. However, my mouth was talking before my brain could catch up, and I said, so we're gonna do family game night. If you just try your hardest on all your activities through the week, Friday night, you, me, dad, that little sister, she'll be in bed, so it's special. We'll play a game, and it'll be great. And my daughter was stoked. So the first couple of nights we played Uno, which is something she's been playing for a while now. However, we were in a thrift store. We stumbled upon a game called the Sneaky Squirrel. And I love squirrels. So the second we saw the box, my daughter was like, Mommy, squirrel, Mommy, squirrel. And I was like, cool, we'll get it. This could be one of our family game night games. Obviously, by Friday, when it rolls around, my enthusiasm is a little bit lacking for the Sneaky Squirrel game, but my daughter has not forgotten, because she will not forget things she does not want to forget. And the point of the game is you have a little grabber with a squirrel on it. You spin the spinner, and it lands on a color. Or you can steal from someone else. So you take a, color acorn. So it'd be a red acorn, a purple acorn, until you get on your little tree, your squirrel gets all the different colors. You win. But like I said, you can also steal acorns from other players. And so the first round we're playing this game, my daughter wins. My husband and I are kind of like, yeah, oh darn, like, golly gee, wish I would have won that one, not the sneakiest squirrel. And as we keep playing, the night's rolling on, my daughter's enthusiasm has not been lost. Whereas I'm kind of scrolling on my phone, and my husband is just kind of like staring off his face, probably watching, a Pacer game in the distance, thinking about who knows what. And my daughter keeps winning. And we're like, okay, it was cute first, but like, what? There's no secret. It's a spinner. It's a chance thing. Until we realized that she has her hand behind her back. And fortunately, just like went to go spin, and I kind of noticed that she's pushing her little tree with the little acorns on it behind her back. I said, wait a minute, what are you doing? And she said, well, I wanted to win. And she had been hiding acorns the whole time. So we wouldn't know which one she had. Therefore, we couldn't steal from her, because if she doesn't have purple, you can't steal the purple acorn. And that's how she kept winning. So whether I like it or not, in that case, the teaching mom thing was pretty easy, because we learned a lot of lessons.
Sneaky squirrel. That sounds like fun. Sort of like hungry hippo.
It was after the first few
Okay. Oh, well. Mhm.
If you die and get cremated, you can be put into an hourglass. So you can still be part of the.
Did you hear that? If you are cremated, they will put your remains, some of your remains into an hourglass. You can still be part of the family game night. Okay? We don't need to use that head coming. Very good, very good. Well, I'll keep that in mind. All right, then we reach into the magic library basket. Pull out a name. And is it Oscar or Ann Osei? Hey, Ann, come on down. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hi, my name's Ann, and I'm from Golden Valley, Arizona. I'm here tonight with my daughter Kelly. Kelly's the one who got us into storytelling back when she was in elementary school. She came home all excited one day because they had a storyteller in school. And she'd tell me they even have a club and they do this every month. So we started, Kelly was a library girl. She'd take home 5, 6 books from the library every time we went. So I said, well, she likes stories, we're gonna do this. Because I was a working single mom. I couldn't do things with the class. So this was after hours. So we started going to storytelling around town. And I tell you, those were some of the best times I remember. Going those and hearing all their stories. We just had a great time every time we went. So that's when she suggested this tonight. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in. That's one of our good fond memories is going to storytelling. So my storytelling about board games is, wow. We had so many board games when I was a child. We had 5 girls in my family. And my dad was an electrical engineer for Ford Motor Company. He designed the dashboards. So he was very educated then. And he wanted his daughters to be educated. So we didn't have the Cootie game. We didn't have Mr. Potato Head. We didn't have Candyman. We had, Monopoly was the most famous, the one that we had. We had Junior Executive, Stock Market, and Masterpiece, where you bid on artwork and things like that. And we used to get into that so much, and we would always tweak those games. So when we played Monopoly, you didn't go broke. You just borrowed money from the bank. So we had notebooks and paper that we always used when we were playing, keep track of who was in the hole, who wasn't. And we would have marathon, days-long sessions of playing those games. But the game that really got me the one time was when we were playing Monopoly. And we were playing with a couple girls from the neighborhood too. And it was a marathon game. Like we ended it at a certain time of night and somebody had to go home for dinner. And then we come back to it the next day. And on day 3, we were playing that game. We're all sitting there watching and playing. And all of a sudden there's like little black shadows all over the game. Just what in the world is that? We're trying to look at that. We look up at the ceiling. A spider nest had broke out in the light above us. And there were hundreds of spiders running all over the ceiling. And it was just so funny, but it just reminded me because that was, it ended our marathon. Everybody was screaming out of the room. But those are some of my finest moments when I was a child, was all those games that we played. And I still love those games. When I found a stock market at a garage sale one time, bought that baby right up. Thank you. I love it. I love it. I've never played stock market. I've played that. We love to play games. It's a good time. We have some friends that we're all aging, and our brain cells are not all on the same starting. And sometimes we have to fuss at each other to explain the rules. The problem with explaining the rules is nobody listens. Okay? Nobody listens. So in the middle of the game, you have to explain again what they were missing. Or somebody has to be their co-player and look at their hand or look at their pieces and tell them what to do so the game can continue. And we won't stop. But we are really worried about whether or not we can start a brand new game because they don't want to learn. They just want to play Keno, Uno, Phase 10, which is kind of difficult. And we like to gamble more than we like left, right, center.
Yes.
Those are our favorite games. So the last time I got together, I won left, right, center. Right, you can just take my $3 and think, I'm going to lose, it doesn't matter. But let me reach into the lime green basket, shake up these names, and out of the basket I have pulled the name, Donna Jones. Donna Jones has got a story.
So hey y'all. Actually, I really don't have a story. I just wanted to extend this evening a little while longer so we could all be together and hang out a little bit. So I guess I'm gonna try to take it. So here we go. I'm an only child. I come from a large extended family. We're having our family reunion up here over the 4th of July. And there'll probably be, everybody will be there, but there'll probably still be 50, 60 people. And it's even bigger with the family down in Georgia. And we do organize some games. They're not like ordinary games, it's like who traveled the furthest, who's the oldest, and I'm moving up, and rapidly moving up in that category. Although there are a bunch of cousins who got a lot more numbers on that one than me. Because now, my grandma, my mom's mom, bless her heart, she's long gone. She had like 10 kids. And I'm not even going to name them all because I can't remember all of them right now. But I do remember, like, my grandma had lived on a plot of land here in town. Escaped from Georgia, literally escaped from Georgia, right after World War I. Moved to Indianapolis because my grandmother had a sister who already lived here. Because originally they were headed to Michigan. I'm glad we didn't end up there because it's just too damn cold in the winter. So they ended up here. My grandmother had a garden. Some of you heard me tell the gardening story. But the neighborhood kids all came to my grandma's house. We didn't really play with it, but we played. Because my grandma's yard was the closest thing we had to a park. We had one of those little pedal cars, it was ugly purple. And I know it had been made in the 40s, because it had all kinds of rust and dings on it that we would get in that thing, just travel all over the yard. We had a slide, we had a swing set. What else did we have? We had a seesaw. We had the neighborhood park. So there was all these kids. And of course, in the summer we had fruit trees, so everybody was always eating. Get out of my kitchen, go back outside, stay out of my sugar, put that salt shaker down, because tomatoes and she had rhubarb. Those are the things we played when I was a kid. And like I said, I didn't really play board games. And the only game I ever played with my grandma was Find the Joker. She had the most antique set of cards I had ever seen in my life. And I know she's had them since 1942. And she was my kid watcher, babysitter, up until I started going to school. Because my mom and I, and my parents, lived in this little tiny converted chicken coop. Oh yeah. It was a 1-bedroom house, and several other folks in my family lived there after we did. But So my grandma and I played, she invented this card game. And you have to understand too. When I was like 5, my grandmother was already in her 70s. So when I started like meeting other people's grandparents and they were like in their 50s, I was like, dang. Because my grandmother was born in 1880, my mom's mother. And I was born in 54. So she was ancient. But this time, and she could look at you and call you everybody else, and you would just keep standing there going, because she wasn't calling your name, and you know she wasn't calling your name. And then she would go, you know I'm talking to you. You know I'm talking. And if you felt it necessary, if you had done something, today that would be called child abuse. Yeah, it would, because I'm getting ready to tell you why. She got old enough that she could no longer like go after us. So one of her sons got this little piece of wood, it's about 18 inches long. He got a screw and a piece of skinny belt leather. And guess what he did with that screw and that little piece of belt leather and that stick? Yeah, he did. He screwed that little piece of belt leather through them little belt holes. And you go past my grandma, and she was like, she would tap us on the way past. And it doesn't matter because she's knocking on something. So she's gonna get you, but whether it happened today, yes, or it's gonna happen in the future. She was gonna get you. And so she did. And again, like I said, I ain't got a story about board games, but I know this, I was never bored growing up as a kid in that yard. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's funny. See, anybody, I know your brain cells are twisting around and you're thinking, I got a story I can tell. That reminds me of one, something that happened to me. So we're giving you any opportunity you want to interpret board games to be, all right? Well, that was hilarious. I tell my kids all the time, honey, you can't vote, you don't have no money, you don't have no rights, okay? You just be glad that we want to take good care of you. So, when my niece and nephews would get in trouble, my brothers would always tell them, I'm gonna tell your auntie. And I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? I'm not going to jail for that. But I pulled another name out. Oh, it's all good. Joshua Wynn. Come on now.
Hi, everybody. Hey, friends. My name is Joshua. I was not planning on telling the story tonight, but I was encouraged. So I'm excited to get here. Board games. I grew up playing board games. Board games are kind of essential to who I am as a person. My dad, my sister, my mom, we grew up playing Monopoly, Spades, Sorry, Life, all the classic board games. I think I just saw the movie Sinners. I don't know if anybody has seen the movie Sinners. I'm not gonna tell any spoilers. No spoilers. But one of the themes of the movie is how music can connect people through locations and generations. And I feel the same way about games. I think being able to know how to play spades, I can go somewhere in Virginia, I can go somewhere in Maine, I can go somewhere in California. If there's a deck of cards, we can get a game of spades going. I feel the same way about gin rummy, right? All these different ways that we are able to connect with people whom we think we have connection with. And I think games can teach us a lot of things, well, a lot about ourselves, about life. I'm gonna share one story that I've learned.
Stick the, yeah, that's all. Sorry to interrupt.
No, thank you. Fix it. I'll tell one story that I learned through playing games, right? Like I said, I've grown up playing Monopoly. Some of my friends that I grew up with here in Indianapolis, they would come over to my dad's house. We would play Monopoly for about 4 or 5 of us. And I was never good at it. I was never good. There's a lot of games I'm not good at. Monopoly is one of those games. But I learned very recently why. I was playing. I just moved up from Houston, Texas. I was playing Monopoly with a couple friends of mine, and I was consistently losing. And I could tell that they were starting to lose interest because you don't want to play with somebody who's not competitive, right? They got bored. So one of them told me, Joshua, man, you have to be more intentional, right? You can't just let the game come to you. You can't be passive with it. You have to decide what you want, and you have to go get it. So whether that means trading some properties you have, some money that you have saved up, decide what you want and go get it. I think there's a lot of lessons I've learned through games as well. Me and my sister one time decided to make our own board game. Me and my sister very close. We decided to make our own version of Clue. We made up our own characters, our own house. We built an actual game board. We never finished it though, because it was not up to my sister's standard. My sister, we were kids, right? We got into an argument. She said, Joshua, it looks like kids made this. And I told her, Marguerite, kids did make it. So we never picked it back up. I think games are beautiful, man. It's a way to connect with those that are close to us, with those that we have never known, we'll never see again. And so thank y'all for letting me tell a story. Thank y'all for having this event. Of course, my pleasure. Have a good evening.
I hope you enjoyed the game. Oh, wait, do you still have that somewhere? Oh, man.
Jim Irsay died today.
What?
The Colts just announced Jim Irsay died today. Doesn't say how, it just said he died this afternoon. Peacefully in his sleep.
Just for generosity. Our prayers is now. Making board games, as a teacher, that was some of the things that you have your kids do to see if they actually learn what you taught them. So they make a game to instruct somebody with the information that they had just been taught. And so some of my kids made some great games. But right now, John, it's your turn to tell a story about board games.
Thank you, Mr. Bloomfield. Thanks for teaching generations of children, including my daughters, in school corporation. I love you and I miss you. Think of you. Thank you so much. My story began actually in the late 1800s. My great-grandfather came to the U.S. from Germany, and he settled in Wheeling, West Virginia. Had 13 children, and those 13 children, they all had a bunch of kids, and so they would have these big family reunions that were huge. We have pictures of them and everything, and of course they had all the three-legged races and all that kind of stuff. A lot of competition. These people were really always competitive. That was Charles. One of his sons was Anthony, was my grandfather. Anthony settled in Pittsburgh, and he had 8 children. And those included 4 boys, my dad and his 3 brothers. And they were a rowdy bunch, and they were always doing up to something. It was during the Depression, and so they had to make their own fun as best they could. And so they used to play fireman with their little brother, who was 4 years old, Joe. And one brother would be up in the second floor window and say, "Save my baby, save my baby." His 2 brothers were downstairs with a blanket, ready to catch the baby from the so-called fire. So they were always doing something crazy. And my dad fostered this sense of competition in our house. And so to the point where we'd have, there were 6 kids, right? And one Sunday afternoon,
some of us little ones were playing Monopoly. And the game was kind of new in our house. So my dad walks by and he goes, well, what's this? What's Monopoly? And he looks at the dice and he looks at the Monopoly money. And that day he taught us how to play the rounds. The game. Just a great Sunday afternoon thing with your little kids, right? Thank you, Dad. And he really believed in competition and getting people excited and stuff. And so for family events, even vacations and stuff, sometimes we have the family Olympics, and there'd be a big, like a big poster. And down the side of the poster were these different games, and across the top were the kids. And, whoever won, and there was some kind of award or something like that. We had the family Olympics. So there were 13 kids, 8 kids, 6 kids. My wife and I have 2 daughters. And so we're not that, we want them to try hard and everything, be competitive. So we would have games in our house. And sometimes some of the friends would come by. And we were, one time we had a bunch of people together. And we were playing a game called Risk. I don't know if you've ever seen Risk. Risk, the game of world domination. You open up the board, and here's the continents across the globe and these countries. And it begins with the people dividing up the countries, and people put their armies on. And it's one of these games like Monopoly that can go on for a long time. And on this night, with one of the visitors was a quiet young person, friend of one of my daughters. And, there's all this rowdy and people, pretending to be generals and everything, going to attack you and all this kind of stuff. But the quiet visitor was just kind of thoughtful and quiet and everything, but kept winning. And the nature of this game, like Monopoly or some of these others, would, as the game goes along, fewer and fewer people are there. So finally, it's down to 2 people. The quiet kid and his noisy one of the cousins, and the quiet kid wins the game, but only after saying, my forces are marching across the Kamchatka Peninsula toward your feeble defenses in North America, or something like that. He'd suddenly become a warlord after being, a kind of a quiet dude. Well, that night it sort of cheered him on and everything. And his name was Song Bin. And Song Bin played in the orchestra with my daughter. And on that night, Song Bin was the warlord of the Risk game. He won the Risk game. And a year later, he married my daughter, and he won her hearts that night.
That was wonderful. I know it's doing, so that's why I'm just like, right now I'm going through the phase where all my kids are having kids. So all their parents are grandparents now. And I can look at their grandkids and they look just like their kids when they were that age. And so I have decided for my bucket list, and that's the topic for our next gathering. My bucket list is, I'm friends with so many people on Facebook, but I've never met the kids in person. So before they go to college, I'm going to go and make sure that I meet all the grandkids. There's a lot of people. I got people in California, San Francisco. I've got people in Avon. I've got people in Louisville. I got people here in the city, and I see sometimes they come back and visit their parents and go on Facebook, and I'm saying to myself, don't go over there. Don't go over there. But I'm saying to myself, I'm warning them, but the next time they come to town, and I know they're in town, I'm coming to their house so that I can see the grandkids, because they look just like their mother and father, and their mother and father were my kids, so I consider them my grandchildren too. So that's a great story. I collect how people met stories. I want to know how you met your wife, how you met your husband, and it's fun for me to collect those stories. So now I'm collecting the kids' stories. I'm finding out what jobs they have, where their children are, how they met their spouses, and it's been a fun time. I don't know if there's anybody else, but my library basket is empty. I know, because half those people are, yes, you got a story? I'll let you make that now.
Sure. So the date that was announced for the Juneteenth celebration at the Benjamin Harrison Presidential Site is not on June 12th, it's on June 13th. It's Friday, June 13th. If you go there on June 12th, it's a great place to visit, but you want to see the Juneteenth celebration. It's the 13th you want to go, Friday, June 13th.
Well, I'm going this evening, okay? Because I know they got some good stories to tell, and I want to be a part of it. We're gonna, do we have giveaways? Do we have any giveaways? For the upcoming season? Okay, we're gonna ask you to fill out your, canary yellow forms so that we can have a drawing. And we will have a drawing for flex tickets. A flex ticket will allow you to attend most of the season, any event. And usually it's one event. I use 2 tickets.
Thank you for judges.
We want to thank all of our judges, our scorekeepers, our timekeeper, our storytellers. And I'm hoping that people who are not here tonight is because they went to see the moth. And had I known about the moth, we could all go to the moth. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't know about it until it showed up on Facebook. Yeah, a party bus, going right on down there. At any rate, let me remind you that our next meeting will be at Aristocrat, and the topic is bucket list. And my bucket list, I just told you, so I have to repeat it. You have to act like you just heard it. And that will be at 5212 North College Avenue. We want to thank everybody for showing up. Thank you for those photographs. We looking photogenic, Shannon. Thank you, Smith, for setting everything up. Thank you, everybody, for coming. But I'm going to read the winners, and I want you to stick around so we can get your picture taken. Our third place winner is Ann. Our second place winner is Stanley. And our first place winner is Samantha. And the winner of Flex tickets, and we'll be mailing them to you, is Chat Black. What a lovely night. You know, we never finished up this early, but that's all right. We can go crash the moment.